It is a joy to be here with you this morning, on this morning of beautiful music, of beautiful spirit, the exciting announcement of your chosen candidate later on in the service. I can see the vibrant light that is shining out of this community, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And it's also a beautiful thing to be here with you to kick off your annual Stewardship Campaign. And I know it's kind of strange for some people to think that I'm excited to be here to talk with you about money, specifically in the context of your pledge of support for this congregation, but I do get excited to talk about money in this context because it's really just an excuse to talk about our values, to talk about our love and our hopes. And I love our Unitarian Universalist values, and I love the way we make them real in the world together. And it takes support from you to make this happen. And so I'd like to start with a reading by the Reverend John Wolfe, who is the Minister Emeritus of All Souls Unitarian Church in Tulsa. There is only one reason for joining a Unitarian Universalist church. That is to support it. You want to support it because it stands against superstition and fear, because it points to what is noblest and best in human life, because it is open to men and women of whatever race, creed, color, sexual orientation, or place of origin. You want to support a Unitarian Universalist church because it has a free pulpit, because you can hear ideas expressed there which would cost any other minister his or her job. You want to support it because it is a place where children can come without being saddled with guilt or terrified of some celestial peeping Tom, where they can learn that religion is for joy, for comfort, for gratitude, and for love. You want to support it because it is a place where walls between people are torn down rather than built up, because it is a place for the religious, displaced persons of our time, the free thinkers and those who insist against orthodoxy that they must work out their own beliefs. You want to support a Unitarian Universalist church because it is more concerned with human beings than with dogmas, because it searches for the holy rather than dwelling in the depraved, because it calls no one a sinner, yet knows how deep is the struggle in each person's breast and how great is the hunger for what is good. Because it calls you to worship what is truly worthy of your sacrifice. Like Reverend John Wolfe, I take it for granted that if you are a member or a friend of this congregation, you want to support it. There are many different ways that a person can support a congregation, but today, let's be specific. What I'm talking about, of course, is money. And it's funny when you think about a piece of money like this quarter. It's a funny thing because it's both concrete, it exists here in my hand, and yet it is also symbolic. It's part of the daily life of just about everyone you come in contact with. It changes hands like any other object might, a piece of paper or a hat, or, for example, this orange that I picked off of the tree when I came in this morning. And yet this coin and this orange are also very different. This coin exists because it has a value that is symbolic. But symbolic of what? Does it represent a piece of gold stored in a treasury somewhere? Not anymore. Is it symbolic of a unit of work transformed into a portable and transferable medium? Because at minimum wage, this quarter is about 2 minutes of time at minimum wage. Or is it even more abstract than that? Is money only worth as much as it will buy on any one given day, moving and flowing with the tides of the market? This orange tomorrow morning will be roughly the same, but when the stock exchange opens tomorrow, this quarter might have changed somehow. Moment to moment, this quarter changes. And if you can explain it to me, I would love to go out to lunch with you sometime and learn more, because I'm not an economist, I'm a minister. But there is something I understand about this quarter, and that it is both symbolic and concrete, and in that way, it is a little bit like religion. Unitarian Universalism is a real and concrete thing. We are gathered here in this beautiful physical building. We have our tangible orders of service in our hand. We have our chalice burning before our eyes. We can point to the real people, the living people here in the room, the people who have gone before us, who have been remembered, the ancestors of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. And yet all of this building, these things, even individual people, they are not the religion. The real religion of Unitarian Universalism is intangible. We circle around it with the best words that we can find, words like community and transformation and love and hope. These words are in fact the words of your very own mission statement. But they are not things that can get passed from hand to hand like an orange. The Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Congregation has both tangible form and intangible meaning. And of course, it's much easier to quantify the tangible. It is easy to see how much is spent on paper clips and light bulbs every year, a new coat of paint every now and then for the buildings. It's easy to tell you how much it will cost to heat the sanctuary in the winter, or what it might cost to renovate the RE classrooms. But once you've paid for all of that, once you've made your mortgage, then what? Something has to fill up a beautiful container, or it doesn't mean much. When your leadership comes to you each year and asks you to keep Live Oak alive and thriving, they don't just ask for enough to keep the lights on. They're not just interested in replacing a burnt-out bulb every now and then. They ask you for more. We, as members of the wider Unitarian Universalist movement, we all ask for more than just that. We have the audacity to imagine that the real value here is something that cannot be bought or sold, something that is beyond the ability of money to quantify. We hold up our dreams and we turn to one another, and then we ask, are you in? How much will you give? What is the going rate for love and hope and compassion and justice these days? And it's hard to figure out just what to say when we're asked to put a price on that something more, that intangible that we're talking about. You can't just tack on a service fee over and above the operating costs, right? It's not like the $2 that they charge you at the ATM when you withdraw your money. Filling out your pledge form, it's not like picking the options on your cell phone plan. We're paying a little bit more, we'll get you extra minutes and free weekends. You know, if you up your pledge by 15%, in return the ministers will guarantee a 15% better sermon the next week. Doesn't quite work like that, dealing with these intangibles. Asking you to support more than just what is concrete, asking you to fund a hope, to invest in a vision, to freely give of that money that I know many of you can use to fix up your car or buy a new shirt or even to travel around the world. This is asking you to sacrifice something. And I take that request very seriously. Some of us have more flexibility than others when it comes to our finances. But what I'm talking about here is not a fixed dollar amount. What I'm saying is that if what you are giving does not feel meaningful, if it does not feel like a sacrifice of some kind, like a choice, that has an impact on your life, then I am asking you to reconsider. And I use that word sacrifice, and I know that in our consumer culture, sacrifice has kind of gotten a bad rap. Because after all, advertising is all about how much you can get for your money. No one sells you anything by telling you you'll have to sacrifice for it. What am I doing here, standing here, extolling that virtue? We're all about having our cake and eating it too. We want a good return on our investment, a good deal on that new car, a better price at the gas pump. Sacrifice is for chumps. Deals have winners and losers, and we all know which side we want to be on. So when you decide to support this community, you get the chance to practice a different relationship with money than the one I just described. Sure, the board can tell you how much you get for your dollar, how many hours of preaching in a year, how many potential new friends, even how many cups of coffee. But none of that really gets to the heart of why we gather each week. Although you do have to build a budget around numbers, it is the intangible experience that keeps us coming home again and again. It is those undefinable qualities, unquantifiable qualities of compassion and hope and transformation that you find here. So when you sit down with your pledge card sometime over the next couple of weeks, don't treat it like you're sitting down with the latest catalog from the Apple Store. Live Oak is not asking you for money in exchange for a product or a service or even a lifestyle. They won't tell you how being a member of Live Oak will make you cooler and smarter and younger looking and more productive and more attractive. And the stewardship team, although I am sure they are a handsome bunch, they're not spokesmodels at the auto show. They are you. You are them. And we all together are trying to figure out how to fund this dream, how to sustain this vision that has been entrusted to us by our ancestors, by the people who have worked so hard and come before, and for the children who will come after. This conversation, after all, is not really about money. It's about what gives joy and meaning to your life. And asking yourself, how does this community, how does Live Oak fit into that? Because I do believe there are things in life, things beyond myself, that are worth sacrificing for. And I am a Unitarian Universalist because I believe this tradition helps me understand what those things are. Upholding the worth and dignity of all people is one of those things. A free and responsible search for truth and meaning is one of those things. And when I really meditate on what it means to be part of that interconnected web of all existence, how can I not see that my actions are important, that my choices reflect and connect with everything that is around me? And when I take this to heart, that word sacrifice, it changes into a gift freely given, an expression of what I value most in life. And I've learned and grown a lot and found profound meaning in that relationship between sacrifice and gift, and what it means to learn to give deeply and freely and meaningfully. Not just a little bit at the edges, not just freeing yourself of what you don't already need. You know, the clothes that I drop off at Goodwill, they're on their way out the door already. The dollar that I put in the hat at the farmer's market, I don't miss that much at the end of the day. And even the donations that I make to other worthy causes, what I can easily come by at the end of the year, what doesn't ask too much of me. Even the best nonprofits often ask for money in these terms, right? It's less than $1 a day. I heard the sales pitch. And you get a tote bag, it's a bargain. But I didn't join a congregation because I was looking for a bargain. I don't want a deal here. And if the only gifts that Live Oak gives you are those that fit comfortably in the margins of your life, then I would be worried. Because it would mean that this place, this project, this grand experiment that we do together week in and week out, that would mean that that was only marginal to your life. The principles and the values of our Unitarian Universalist faith, the mission statement that you have adopted here, and let me read part of it for you. Our generations join together to nurture spiritual growth and personal transformation, that we may be inspired to transform the world with love, hope, compassion, and justice. That mission statement is important. It's not a fringe benefit that comes with a tote bag. It reflects the aspirations that demand your best self, your sustained attention, and your deepest faith. My mom mentioned that I grew up in New Orleans in the Unitarian Universalist Church there, and I have to admit that the only one time in my entire life I have ever defaced property that was not mine was at the church where I grew up. It was the building that I had grown up in that congregation. It was sort of an architectural folly with big glass windows and really thin walls, and the roof was leaky, and there was not nearly enough space for everything the congregation wanted to do. And so when I was in high school, they decided to move buildings. They moved to a big, beautiful brick building down the street. And I was very excited about it because it presented all of these opportunities, and because they told the youth group we could meet in the bell tower. But I still loved that old, leaky building that had sheltered me in body and spirit for so many years. And so after almost everything had been moved out, sort of on the last time we were in the building, I crept down a back stairwell, and right on the bottom of one of the stairs, I carved my name, right, with a pencil. Because my sense of belonging was so strong that I couldn't imagine leaving it without making my mark somehow. A reminder to whoever came after that someone's life had been changed there. It was a place worth sacrificing for. And as a child, I didn't know what that meant beyond loving something so much that I needed to imprint that love on the building itself. But it wasn't the building that I loved. It was the congregation. It was Unitarian Universalism. And as I've gotten older, I have found other ways to make my mark. I have found a faith that inspires me to live every day more boldly, with compassion and joy. And I believe that even in a building as new as this one, if you went over into a corner and looked underneath the paint, you would find names written on these walls too. The people who dreamed a dream and made this congregation possible. The Unitarian and Universalist ancestors who spoke their truth bravely and with love. The names of the children whose lives have been changed here. Maybe your name. And so I ask you to consider making your mark in the coming weeks in support of this wonderful congregation. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. And could someone go tell the children to come? They're already there. They're already there. Great. We have a special occasion happening right now. I would like to invite up Jan and the rest of the Ministerial Search Committee, and tell us what you know about our future.
Good morning. Last June, you elected a group of people who are standing in front of you to help find a candidate to become our new minister here at Live Oak. And a very fine group you chose. It's been a real treat. It's been a real treat to get to know all of these people better. We have chosen our candidate, and it is Reverend Tamara Casanova Suzuki. We chose Reverend Tamara because she's a deeply collaborative, loving minister who has a strong background in religious education, in social justice, in solving conflicts, and in interfaith work. She's a relatively new minister who finished her Master of Divinity at summa cum laude at Claremont Graduate University in May of 2011. She did her internship at Monte Vista UU Congregation in California, obtained her preliminary fellowship with UUA in May of 2012, and was ordained in June of 2012. Since then, she's been working as associate minister at Pacific Unitarian Church in Palos Verdes. Reverend Tamara also holds a Master of Science degree in International Relations from Claremont. In addition, she holds a Certificate of UU Studies from Starr King School for the Ministry. She was awarded an outstanding level of performance for her first year of ministry by the Ministerial Fellowship Committee. And before entering divinity school, Reverend Tamara was a successful director of religious education for over 10 years. Reverend Tamara is married and has 2 grown children, and she has many more talents, skills, and honors that you'll come across as we get to know her.
I'm so excited I can hardly stand it. It's just wonderful. Most importantly, here is what she wrote to us. As we journey forward together, my hope for our shared vision of ministry is to create a UU congregation that is both a comfort for those in need and a gathering place for those who are ready to change both themselves and the world. As a minister, I seek to build connection and community within a congregation as we support and encourage each other through the ongoing changes of our lives. I also envision our work together as a positive force for change in our community and our world.
The Reverend said, I hope for a UU congregation that will engage with me in the vital justice work of repairing our web of existence with justice for all people and all beings. As a minister, I encourage involvement in the greater community as we share the powerful, affirming, and life-saving message of Unitarian Universalism.
And she says, I hope for a UU congregation that welcomes all comers with vibrant, healing, and transformative worship, and where both pastoral and prophetic worship and preaching are welcome and desired. As a minister, the Sunday worship experience is a key focus of my ministry.
And she also says, I hope for a UU congregation that is ready to embrace growth, both in deepening the spiritual and intellectual life of current members and in growing membership as we reach out to those who would welcome our liberal message.
She continues, I hope for a UU congregation that needs my prophetic voice, leadership, pastoral presence, and skills in community building and conflict engagement. As a minister, I look forward to a congregation that is committed to shared ministry and openness in congregational life as we work in faithful partnership to bring to life the mission, covenant, and vision of the congregation. Blessings and peace from Reverend Tamara.
So the committee wants to invite you to do three things today. Number one, mark your calendar for May 11th to 18th. This is candidating week, where we will have the chance, yes, take out your device. So this is candidating week where we'll have the chance to participate in 2 worship services Reverend Tamara has planned and hear her preach twice on both those Sundays. We will have informal social time and scheduled ministries time to let her know what we are about and to ask her questions about her ideas. After the service on May 18th, we'll have a congregational meeting after Tamara has left and vote to call her. 2, we will have a link to Reverend Tamara's ministerial site placed on the Live Oak website in the next few days so that you may look at the materials there. And a notice will go out when that's available. And 3rd, today, when we leave the sanctuary, there's a table with a large card displayed. It's Reverend Tamara's birthday, April 19th. So if you take the time to sign that, we'll send it to her, and that'll give us one more way that she'll get to know us. Okay? So thank you very much for your attention, and we're all really looking forward to this.